Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Alhamdulillahi rabbil alamin wassalatu wassalamu ala sayyidil mursalin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa man tabi'ahum bi ihsan ila yawmiddin. My dear respected brothers and sisters, welcome to our hadith building or character building through the hadith program, inshallah, right here from Nur-e-Islam Masjid, live with you as we enter the um, finishing the 8th day of the fasting. Today is, of course, Saturday, the 2nd of May, inshallah. So welcome, and we hope that you can join us for the next few minutes until we get ready to break the fast, inshallah. All right, so Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Today, inshallah, we want to talk to you a little bit about the importance of reconciliation in Islam, especially amongst our Muslim brothers and our Muslim sisters. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us in the Holy Quran in Surah Hujurat, أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم إنما المؤمنون إخوة فأصلحوا بين أخويكم واتقوا الله لعلكم ترحمون. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in Surah Hujurat verse number 10, the believers are but brothers. Subhanallah, the believers are but brothers. So make settlement between your brothers and fear Allah that you may receive mercy. So this is a very, very important aspect of our deen. And the month of Ramadan is a month of blessings, it's a month of mercy, it's a month of forgiveness, it's a month where our hearts are soft as well. And it's the very, very best time in which we can follow the advice of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, follow the command of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, where He says, the believers are brothers. فَأَصْلِحُوا بَيْنَكُمْ. So bring yourselves together, reconcile with each other. And may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala have mercy upon all of us. Many ahadith come about reconciliation. And why is there sometimes a need for reconciliation? Because we are individuals, we are human beings, we are Muslims, but we see things in a different way. I mean, just look at Islam today. How many different directions people follow in terms of their Islam that they follow, different scholars having different opinions about different ahadith and so on. And many times, those of us who are scholars, we spend a lot of time trying to tell people that scholars having differences of opinions are not reasons to have conflict among ourselves as believers or to cause divisions among ourselves. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells all of us, وَأَتَّحْسِمُوا بِحَبْلِ اللَّهِ جَمِيعًا. Hold fast to the rope of Allah, all of you together. And this rope of Allah is the Quran. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent the Holy Quran to all of us as believers. Now, of course, we may have differences sometimes in opinions with regard to our understanding of the hadith, and many times, of course, we rely on scholars, and scholars look at hadith in different ways, and they have different criteria for accepting some hadith. Sometimes they differ. Some scholars will accept some hadith, and others will reject the very same hadith based on the narrator, the chain of narrators, or some other reason. That should not be a reason for us to divide ourselves. We listen to the different opinions, and inshallah, we follow the scholars that we have trust in, those who we know have been giving us good advice all of the time. But if we have brothers who follow different scholars, this should not be a means where we should find ourselves becoming, divided between ourselves, among ourselves, because this is just not right. This is not what the purpose of the hadith was. The hadith never came to divide us, but in fact, so many hadith have come telling us that we should reconcile. And many times, for example, with scholars who have differences of opinion, it is because they themselves have looked at many ahadith. Sometimes we just look at one hadith and we come up with a solution with a particular position, and we say that this Imam, for example, Imam Abu Hanifa, he has a different opinion, but look, the hadith is saying something else, and he is wrong. But really, he would have looked at not just this hadith, but many other hadith, and looked at, for example, the times that the hadith came, the situation, the context, and whether Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam, how he dealt with the differences, seeming differences among the hadith, and he would have based his fatwa, his opinion, upon all of these hadith together. But sometimes we are just looking at one, And we are saying that this differs from what the Prophet ﷺ said to do. Okay, he said to do this in this particular time, but he didn't say that this was the only way to do this and for all times. So the science of hadith is something that we should endeavor to learn. But the point I want to make today is that we should not let this cause us to become divided. And sometimes it's not just only about hadith or understanding of verses of the Quran and so on. Sometimes it's just a matter of people's perception about other people, and people's perception are based on what people see as well, and how what they themselves how they themselves see something. You know the story about the blind people who were asked to feel the elephant, and somebody felt the trunk of the elephant, a blind person, and he said that the elephant was something fat and long, and another person felt the trunk of the elephant, and they said it was thin and long, and somebody else felt the ear of the elephant and said it was flat, right? So they were all feeling different parts of the elephant, and the elephant was in fact a combination of all of these different parts of the body, but not each one of them was not representative of the whole. And many times, we listen to something, we hear something, we see something. We are seeing one thing, we're seeing one aspect, we're seeing, one shot in time. We don't know the whole picture, but we form conclusions, and we are wrong. And it causes division among ourselves, because when you approach a person based on what you think about them, based on what you know, then sometimes your perception has been misguided, or it has been misdirected, or it has been miscalculated, and a person obviously feels that that is not the whole picture. And these are the simple little things that cause issues among ourselves, just sometimes not seeing things in the same way. That's why many times you hear people say that two things that they don't discuss. One is politics, and the other one is religion. And other people also say sport, because many people are very passionate about sport, especially people like football players. Well, I mean, when I say football, I mean soccer players, what we call football. People are very passionate about their teams and who they follow, and therefore, you don't get into a discussion about that. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is commanding us, إِنَّمَا الْمُؤْمِنُونَ إِخْوَةٌ فَأَصْلِحُوا بَيْنَ أَخَوَيْكُمْ. So make a settlement between your brothers. Very, very important. Whatever the reasons for people coming, getting to the position of being, let's say, enemies, or not speaking to each other, um, there must be some point at which people can be reconciled. And many times it requires a third party to do the reconciling, and that is good as well, because there's a lot of great blessings in a person being a reconciler, if I can use that term. And remember as well that this many times occurs between brothers, I mean biological brothers, because biological brothers, they know each other very well, and many times they have conflicts based on how their parents might be treating them, or other siblings treat them, or what they perceive to be one brother taking advantage of the situation. And many times you find brothers who are not speaking to each other, or it may be relatives, cousins, uncles and nephews, aunts and nieces, aunts and nephews. All different kinds of permutations can exist where people are not speaking to each other. Then you have as well Muslims who are neighbors, and because of some little thing, the neighbor said something, and we spoke about the rights of neighbors as well. Then there's a fallout between the neighbors, and sometimes it's just petty jealousy. And sometimes as well, people are really just not easy to get along with. They're very difficult. Sometimes as well, we make jokes, and in the jokes that we make, we not the other party is not sure if we're really joking, or if we're trying to belittle them, or disgrace them, or embarrass them. And we take the jokes in a different way, and then the person says, no, it was just a joke. But many times jokes are really covered weapons, where we try to really embarrass a person, and this is not right. This can cause a fallout. Sometimes it's just a matter of a person expressing his opinion about something, but not expressing it in the proper manner. And that's why I said before as well, it's not sometimes what you say, but the way that you say it. Because we are all accustomed to our own way of thinking, and our own way of doing things. And especially, for example, if you come to the masjid, You see things being done in a particular way, you may not agree that that's the best way to do it, and you can voice your opinion, but it is the manner in which you say that you don't agree with what is being done that determines the kind of traction your statements have. Because if you say something in such a way that will make people feel as though you are criticizing them or you are, belittling them, then they're not going to listen to you, right? If you give that kind of attitude that I know everything, you don't know, listen to me, follow my instructions, then people are going to say, well, I'm doing the work, you're not doing it, you're just barking out orders. I'm not into that, and they're not going to follow you. But if you give a suggestion in a manner that somebody feels, they feel that this person really genuinely cares and wants to help, then they will take that suggestion, right? So a lot of the times we ourselves are the reasons why we end up falling out with our brothers and our sisters and our peers, right? Because of the way we say things. And sometimes as well, this could be the employer-employee relationship. This could be the imam-muqtadi relationship. This could be the parent-son relationship. This could be the teacher-student relationship. This could be all kinds of things. The husband-wife relationship, of course, right? But in all of these, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, فَأَصْلِحُوا أَخَوَيْكُمْ بِأَخَوَيْكُمْ, right? To make a come back together, right? And make a settlement between your brothers. Very, very important, inshallah, that we do that. And there are many hadith as well that we can look at that tell us the same thing. For example, in this hadith reported by Abu Huraira radiallahu ta'ala an, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he says, "Ta'adilu bainal ithnain. Ta'adilu bainal ithnain sadaqatun." Ta'adilu, to to be just between two people, right? To be just between two people, it is sadaqah, it is charity, right? So here it is that if we can cause, two people to look at things in a manner that there's justice between them and each person is being just to the other, then this is a sadaqah that we are doing as well. And being two people being just to each other, this is a sadaqah as well. The Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam in hadith reported by Abu Darda, he said, shall I not tell you what is better in degree than extra fasting, prayer, and charity? So one is that being just, being adil between two people, this in itself is a charity, and therefore a lot of the, as I said, a lot of the reasons why there is a need for reconciliation comes about because we are not being just with each other. We are not being just with each other, and therefore, being just between two people, this is a sadaqah. And here, this next hadith now, shall I not tell you of what is better in degree than extra fasting, meaning the nafil fast that we would do, or prayer, meaning the nafil salah that we would pray, or charity, the sadaqah that we would give. So this is, according to this hadith, better. Now, it doesn't mean that we should abandon these great acts of worship and great acts of blessings and only do this, but it shows that this also has a very important position in deen. It is salahu dhatil baini, reconciliation between people. Reconciliation between people. Verily, corrupted relations between people is the razor. Verily, corrupted relation between people, it is the razor. It is the razor. Right? So, subhanAllah, in another similar hadith, the Rasul sallallahu alayhi wasallam said, envy and hatred are the razor. I do not say they shave hair, rather they shave away the religion. Rather they shave away the religion. So many times when we fall out with people and we have issues with them, we end up committing sins. We end up backbiting them, slandering them, having ill feelings towards them. We stop speaking to them. We do all kinds of things, right? And that is, of course, not Islam. In Islam, we've got to have that amount of humility that if we disagree with somebody, we can disagree but without being disagreeable. In other words, we still maintain some kind of, some kind of channels of communication. Not everybody, my brothers and my sisters, is going to be a best friend. Not everybody you have to have as a best friend. Not everybody you can treat as your best friend. Not everybody you can have a great relationship with them. But at all times, you must have such a relationship with people that you know, are able to speak with them, that you are able to communicate, that you're able to work with them for the greater good, for the sake of deen. No problem, alhamdulillah. All right, so it is very, very important, inshallah, that we spend our some time, especially in this month of Ramadan, especially with relationships that are very, very sincere and close and important, like family relationships, where we have family members who are not speaking to each other, that they reconcile. And the reconciliation as well can also come from a third party, because according to this verse of the Quran from Surah Hujurat, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, this can also be interpreted to mean that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is telling you, you reconcile those two people. Right? You can reconcile with yourself and with the person with whom you have an issue, but also you see two people who have an issue, then also similarly reconcile with them. So here, this hadith narrated by Khulthum, that the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam said that he is not a liar who reconciles people by spreading good or saying something good. He is not a liar who reconciles people by spreading good or saying something good. The scholars said that the meaning here is that he reports good things that he knows and is silent about the bad things. He would not be a liar, since a liar claims something different than it actually is. So, this is Ibn Hajar commenting on this hadith that the scholar said. So, because the hadith is saying he's not a liar who reconciles people by spreading good or saying something good. So, what this means is that we cannot reconcile people by lying on them as well, or about them. So, for example, brother, Abdul, he has fallen out with brother Fahim. Brother Abdul and brother Fahim, they're not talking. So you go to brother Fahim and say that brother Abdul, he has said, that you are such a wonderful person. But brother Abdul never said that, right? Never said that. So you cannot do that. You cannot lie and try to say, well, so forget about what you've heard about between Abdul and yourself. Come together because he said that you're such a wonderful person. But what you can say is that Abdul is a good person. Abdul is a person who doesn't hold grudges against people. Abdul, maybe he said something in the past, but I'm sure he doesn't hold that against anybody. This is the nature of Abdul. Now, you're not lying. You're saying something that is good, right? Maybe Abdul at one time did say something bad about Fahim, but Abdul is such a person that, he may say something today, he forgets about it tomorrow. He didn't really mean it. It's just that sometimes, that's his nature. So you know that about Abdul. So you won't hold that against him as well. So you go to Fahim, with whom he has a fallout, and say to Fahim that, Abdul is a good person. You can't lie and say that Abdul said that you, Fahim, is such a wonderful person and so on. You can't lie. But he is not a liar who reconciles people by spreading good or saying something good. Meaning that, if Fahim says to you that, yeah, but Abdul, I hear Abdul backbiting a guy, then you can say, Abdul has his faults like all of us, but we all try our best, and I know that Abdul doesn't hold grudges. I know that Abdul is willing to help, willing to reconcile. Why don't you go and meet him, have a discussion, sort it out? This would be a great, great, great blessing for you. And you're not a liar. You're not saying anything. Somebody comes to you, for example, Fahim comes to you and say, "Did Abdul say this about you, about me? Did Abdul say about me that I am like this and I am like that?" And you cannot lie, but you can say Abdul sometimes says things that he doesn't mean, or he doesn't understand the importance of what he says. So whatever Abdul said, I'm telling you, brother, I'm asking you, brother, don't take it to heart. Don't take it as important, because this is the nature of Abdul. You can't go and say Abdul never said that. Abdul never said that. He would never say something like that, but he did, and he did. Then you're lying, but you want him to come back together. You can't lie, but at the same time, you can spread the good. Spread the good about a person, right? Say something good about them, right? So, alhamdulillah, this is another hadith here. The Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam said that the son of Adam does not act with anything better than prayer, reconciliation between people, and good character. So this means here that the son of Adam, mean each one of us, you know, what are some of the best things that we can do? Performing our salah is one of the best things that we can do. Of course, fasting in Ramadan, paying our zakah, going for Hajj, all of these are great things to do as well. But this hadith is pointing out three things. One, salah, prayer. And it is pointing out reconciliation between people and good character. And it's therefore what it's doing as well, the wisdom about a hadith like this, right, which is found in Shu'ab al-Iman, is that the Rasul Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam is couching this act of reconciliation between people, together with a great act like prayer, like salah, and together with a great act like good character. So it shows, because this whole series of programs that we're having as you get ready to break your fast and get your iftar together and so on, alhamdulillah, is about building our character. And this should be something that we should consider to be very, very important as believers, that we try to reconcile people between themselves. Now, sometimes our own nafs, tells us, man, we like to see them as enemies, we like to see these people as enemies because we get that kind of feeling that that we are superior if it is that we are not enemies, or we see them fighting among themselves and we are like a neutral party. But that's not really right. What is really right is that we try to feel that, worry about how it is we could bring them back together, what we could do to make them come back together. And I'm saying that especially, this is really important with families, because it is really, really sad to see that sometimes a father dies, especially in this time of COVID-19 and people dying, older people being more susceptible to the serious effects of the virus. That people get ill and they die in such a condition where sometimes their own children are not speaking with them. And many times, it could be the parents' fault. I'm not going to sit here and say that it's always the children's fault and children should always just ignore everything the parents say and then just close up, turn a blind eye and then just be friends with them. No, many times, we are human beings, the children as well, and we have feelings and we have emotions. And many times, people say things when they're getting old that they shouldn't say. For example, a person may say something about his son's wife. What kind of wife you've gotten here? This is the best kind of person you could have gotten, and a person feels hurt that this is the way my father is speaking about my wife, or my mother is speaking about my wife, or my husband. And that can sometimes lead to people not talking to each other. Sometimes, a sister decides to marry a brother who her father and mother are totally not pleased with. They're not pleased with them, with that person. And they sometimes say, well, you know what? If she goes to do that, then let her go and do it. But I'm not talking to them anymore. I'm not talking to her anymore. I'm writing off out of my will. I'm writing her off. Who do you blame? Do you blame the parent who is overreacting and saying that, I mean, this is not the person that I wanted for my daughter. This is not a good person. What could he do? And what kind of person is this? When in fact that person is a Muslim, may not be the kind of person you wanted. Maybe you wanted your daughter to marry a doctor or an engineer or somebody, and and she's marrying a barber. I mean, there's nothing wrong with being a barber. I'm just saying, it's not what you wanted. You wanted a doctor or an engineer, and this person is a barber. This person is a taxi driver or whatever. So you overreact, or the child now is going against the parents. Going against the parents. Now, of course, in Islam as well, to marry somebody who your parents your father, especially as a wali, doesn't agree with, is not permissible according to just to some of the imams, not all of the imams, but according to three of the imams, it is not permissible. But of course, sometimes there are extenuating circumstances, in the sense that if it is that, for example, the father is delaying the marriage of the daughter, and the daughter has found a practicing Muslim who is not, what the father wanted, but is somebody who's practicing, then sometimes the ulama and the imams have to intervene, and other family members have to intervene and tell the wali and convince the wali that what you're doing is not in the best interest of your daughter. Even though you're the wali, you need to change your stance. Sometimes when these things happen, you find that, the parents and the children go apart. But then, it is so hard, for example, when as a child, that child has children, and those children, you want them to meet their grandparents. But because of this thing, this action, they've broken up. This is where, families need to take a role in reconciling, finding a way back. Sometimes you can't turn back the clock, right? Because things have happened already. But you find a way back where you can bring back these people into the relationship. Let bygones be bygones. That's the famous saying. Let bygones be bygones. Whatever has passed, let it has passed. Don't let our stand, our principled stand, stop us from moving ahead in our lives, from not enjoying many of the good things in life, especially when it comes to our grandchildren, for example. That we don't like the husband or our wife, our daughter got, so we stop talking to our daughter, and now they're having grandchildren, and we don't even want to talk to the grandchildren or play with the grandchildren. No, no, somebody has to intervene. And whoever intervenes, right? Whether it's the grandmother, or whether it's another in-law, another son-in-law, another somebody else, or another sister, another daughter, whoever intervenes, they get real reward for that. Real reward for that. The Prophet ﷺ said in this hadith, the son of Adam does not act with anything better than prayer, reconciliation between people, and good character. And good character. Right? The best act of charity in another hadith, which is, narrated by Abdullah bin Amr, the best act of charity is to reconcile people. The best act of charity, the best sadaqah. So we think sometimes about sadaqah, we think about giving sadaqah as giving something, now these are the days of hamper distribution. I've never seen so many hampers distributed in my life in this country. Right? All over hampers are being distributed. But the point is that we tend to think about sadaqah as being only physical things, to give money, to give goods, hampers, to give something. But sadaqah also, a good word is a sadaqah. A smile is a sadaqah. Reconciling between people is one of the best sadaqah. The hadith says, the best act of charity, the best act of sadaqah, right? Afdhus sadaqah, the best sadaqah, islahu dhati bayin. Islahu dhatil bayin, the bringing together of people. Dhatil bayin, the coming together of people. The best act of charity, right, is to reconcile people. And therefore, we have, as believers in this month of Ramadan, when, we should all have a little more um, softness, because inshallah we're fasting, then it is a really good time for us to use that opportunity, look at our family members and see who is not talking to each other. Because as I said, as I was talking about older people who may pass away at this time, not necessarily because of COVID and so on, but they're getting old every day, we're getting old every day, and you have family members who are not talking to each other, right? It is really important. And this reconciliation among family members is so, so, so important, that even if your family members are not Muslim, it doesn't mean you should not be speaking with them. Many times, we have many reverts into Islam in our communities, especially up in here in the East West Corridor in Trinidad and Tobago. And when they accept Islam, their siblings and their parents become really aggressive, volatile, hostile to them. They don't want to hear anything about Islam, because Islam, of course, prohibits many other things that many of them might have been involved in: gambling, marijuana, alcohol, fornication, adultery, whatever. And one of the family members now becomes a believer. And I mean, I want to do it as a whole separate topic, as by the way, that how do people who come to Islam deal with their non-Muslim relatives, so that you do not push them away and you become forever the only person in your family who becomes a Muslim, but you become the catalyst by which the whole family comes into Islam one by one by one. It has a lot to do with how you treat your family members after you become a Muslim. Because certainly Becoming a Muslim is a very liberating thing. You feel very liberated when you become a Muslim, and you feel that now you have become successful, now you will be successful, and all of these family members of yours, they're going to hell. That's what Shaitan sometimes can come to you with that they're going to hell, so why should I even care about them anymore, right? But these people were your parents. These people are your parents. They're your siblings. They're your uncles and your aunts. They may be going to church and saying Jesus Christ is Lord and whatever, but they're still your family members. So, you know, re- reconcile between them as well. Reconcile with your family members. I'm talking, although I want to, as I said, do a whole program on this. I'm talking to those members of our community, Muslims, who have come into Islam and who have a really bad relationship with your non-Muslim parents, your non-Muslim siblings. Do not take the attitude that now that I have become a Muslim, they are failures and unsuccessful, and therefore I can just wipe them off the face of the map. No, no, they are still your relatives. They will always be your relatives, right? And therefore, you have got to work by being very gentle and kind with them, very hospitable with them as well, right? So this hadith of the Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam says as well, shall I not tell you of a charity beloved to Allah and His Messenger? Shall I not tell you of a charity beloved to Allah and His Messenger? Reconcile, reconcile between reconcile people when there is hatred and corruption between them. Reconcile people when there is hatred and corruption between them, right? That they have become enemies, and people become enemies very, very easily today. You tell somebody something that they don't agree with, you hold a different opinion, you're following a different kind of fiqh, then they call you, a Wahhabi, or they call you a Salafi, or they call you he's a Hanafi, or he's a Bidati, or he's a whatever, whatever, whatever. And we give people labels, and we begin to dislike them, we begin to hate them, we stop talking to them, we start backbiting them. This is not Islam. This is not Islam. If we believe that Allah has guided us to the Islam that is the best Islam, right? Whether I'm a Salafi or whether I'm a Hanafi or whatever, but this is the best Islam, then it is not the best thing for me to hate you for the Islam that you follow because you don't agree that this is the best Islam. It is better for me to try to impress you and convince you that the Islam that I am following, this is Islam I want you to follow as well. But what we do is, we take the approach that, okay, these people, they're not following the hadith in the right way, they're not following the right hadith, they misinterpreted the Quran, they're doing a lot of bid'ah, and causing we're causing divisions among ourselves. This little Muslim community in Trinidad and Tobago, right, could be so strong if we could unite. And I'm not saying strong in a negative way, I'm saying strong in a very positive way. We could do so much for the country because among this Muslim community in Trinidad and Tobago, there are many people who have reached very high positions in their personal careers, right? There are many people who are very, very professional in their own areas of work. There are many people who are very wealthy and they become very successful businessmen. And there are many scholars in this community as well. But what we all suffer from is an ego problem, right? An ego problem. And we all want to be on top. We want to be the crab that gets to the top of the barrel first. And we end up fighting down each other. And therefore, we are not united. We know that. We can't claim that, this is a united Muslim Ummah in Trinidad and Tobago. But Alhamdulillah, to a large extent, we are able to have a certain amount of functional unity that we survive together. We don't bite off each other's heads, right? But if we could have really come together, understanding the principles of Deen, then inshallah, we would have been able to do so much more for the entire community. For the entire nation, we could move the whole community and the whole nation together. But it would begin by reconciling brothers between brothers, sisters between sisters, families, members of the Jama, the leaders and the Muqtadis, the followers, everybody inshallah. We should reconcile. Because one of the things about reconciliation as well is that Many times when we are at loggerheads with people, we don't get to know their conditions. And for example, now is a time when many people are in dire need, in dire straits. Sometimes our own family members, they don't have food on the shelves, but because we're not speaking with them, because we don't like the Islam that they follow, or the fact that they don't follow Islam, we consider that we are practicing Muslims and they are, they are what, Eid Muslims or whatever. Or they may be even worse than that. Maybe they're drinking alcohol or they're committing some sins. So we stay away from them. So now we, in this situation, we don't even know their conditions. We don't even know how bad things are with them. And that couldn't be right. Right? The narration of the Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he said that you reconcile between people if their relations are corrupted, and that you bring them together when they are far apart. This is the command of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam in Hadith, right? In Shu'ab al-Iman, that you reconcile between people if their relations are corrupted, and you bring them together when they are far apart. I want to give you the one of the sayings of one of the great scholars, one of the Imams, right? Imam al-Awza'i, may Allah have mercy upon him. He said that step, there is no step that is dearer to Almighty Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. There is no step dearer to Almighty Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala than a step towards inviting people, towards reconciling people, than a step towards reconciling people. This is Imam Awza'i rahimahullah. He said that there is no step that is dearer to Allah Almighty than a step towards reconciling people. Whosoever reconciles two people, Almighty Allah will grant him safety from the fire of Jahannam. Almighty Allah will grant him safety from the fire of Jahannam. That is why in another hadith which is found in Sahih Muslim, the Rasul sallallahu alayhi wasallam says that the gates of paradise, the gates of Jannah, are open on 2 days, Mondays and Thursdays. Every slave who does not associate anything with Allah, any slave who does not commit shirk, you know, is granted forgiveness. Every slave who does not commit shirk is granted forgiveness, except the person in whose heart there is a rancor against his brother. Subhanallah. Hear this hadith. Listen to this hadith again. The gates of paradise are open on Mondays and Tuesdays, on Mondays and Thursdays. And this means that on these 2 days the angels and Malaika, they take the deeds of the believers. They take the deeds of the believers up to the heavens. The angels are taking the deeds. Every slave who does not commit shirk, does not associate anything with Allah, is granted forgiveness, except the person in whose heart there is rancor against his brother. It means that a person, when it says that he is granted pardon, it means that he is doing his deeds, his good deeds. He's not committing shirk, and he's seeking forgiveness from Allah. Then inshallah Allah is forgiving him, forgiving him, forgiving him. He's making mistakes. He's committing sins. Every day we commit sins. Every single day, right? We commit sins. But every time we are seeking forgiveness, we are doing our good deeds. This hadith is saying that Allah is forgiving him, Allah is forgiving him, Allah is forgiving him, except that person, he has that hatred in his heart for another Muslim brother. He has that hatred in his heart. It would be said, the hadith says, it would be said, delay both of them until they reconcile. Delay both of them until they reconcile. Delay both of them until they reconcile. 3 times it is said in this hadith in Sahih Muslim, right? Delay both of them, meaning delay that forgiveness upon the both of them. Delay that forgiveness that you are said that they are asking for, that they would have been granted, because they are not committing shirk, they are believers, they are committing good deeds, they're seeking forgiveness. On Mondays and Thursdays, their deeds are going up with the angels. The Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam is saying that it is said, delay both of them until they reconcile. Until they reconcile. Right? Subhanallah. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he was a person who would always tell people to go and reconcile with your brother. Right? Remember that the Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, go to him, even if he dismisses you or talks badly about you. Go to him once, twice, thrice, and hasten to give him a present. Smile at him and treat him nicely. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, Almighty Allah augments the honor of he who forgives. Hadith of Bukhari and Muslim. He augments the honor of he who forgives. If you pardon, Almighty Allah will increase your honor. If you reconcile people, then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will increase your honor. If you were expelled or the door was not open for you and you returned, then know that this is one of the wishes of the predecessors of the Ummah, because it is proof of the purity of the heart. It is proof of the purity of the heart, meaning that you have gone and you have made that effort, and if it is rejected, Allah knows that your heart is pure and that you want to have this reconciliation, right? Subhanallah. That's why the Quran says in chapter 24, verse 28, and if it is said to you, go back, then go back. It is pure for you. Subhanallah. So we have to, reconcile with our Muslim brothers, inshallah. And it's time to break the fast already, very, very, very close. So I want to, inshallah, stop today. So it's, let's see, just a few minutes away. So the whole point of today's discussion was that we as believers need to reconcile with each other, especially in this month of Ramadan, this month of lockdown. We may not be able to physically go to our family members or friends or whosoever we have had an issue with, but give them a call, send them a WhatsApp message, send them a text, you know, um, do a Facebook post, well, do a Facebook messenger thing, do something, all kinds of social media, have a Zoom meeting, whatever it needs to do, inshallah, you need to do, inshallah, but ensure, inshallah, that you reconcile. Because if we reconcile, it is a charity that we are doing. If we reconcile two people together, it's a sadaqah. If we reconcile with another person, then it's a great blessing for us as well. So, inshallah, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless us. I will see you together again tomorrow for another program. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. And for those of you who are on the live stream, inshallah, we will continue until we break the fast. It's now 6:18, and therefore today being Saturday, the 2nd of May, we're breaking the fast at 6:22. Also, we do have 4 minutes still. I forgot that today the time increases. But in that 4 minutes, inshallah, we can talk a little bit about what we have been talking about. And inshallah, mention that, it is something that is really very important for us to do. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has commanded us to reconcile. And remember that we will always have differences of opinion. Not everybody is going to have the same thinking about something. But as believers, I think, personally, if I can just say personally, because we're talking to our people now who are here with us at the masjid, who are listening to us, maybe not everybody, but many people from the Jamaat who are here to hear the adhan as well. At the time of, the breaking of the fast, you will hear the adhan, and inshallah we break our fast together. All right. So, one of the important things is that a Jamaat like ours, for example, at Nur-e-Islam, because we're so big, there are always people with different orientations, different understandings, different beliefs, and so on. And I think we have striven, I think to a large extent we've been successful in making everybody, people who, follow different um, orientations of Islam, if I can put it that way, feel comfortable to come to the masjid. Right? There is no group among the Ahlul Sunnah wal Jama'ah who we do not allow to come to the masjid to perform their salah, to participate in programs, to even have their own programs as well. We do allow, alhamdulillah. I think that's one of the reasons that we've been very successful over the years. And inshallah, we will continue to be there. And all of the Jamaats, inshallah, of course, in other Jamaats, there's no need. Everybody is from the area, sometimes small Jamaats, and they all follow the same kind of, orientation of Islam. But in bigger Jamaats, and this is how, the Jamaats have to operate to be successful, because this is what Islam calls for, because we have to reconcile upon our similarities rather than cause our differences to make us go apart. Reconcile our similarities rather than making our differences pull us apart. All right, so it's 6:20 now. So inshallah, I wanted to leave a minute 6:21, just a minute for us to make a dua. So inshallah, let's make a collective dua today. And tomorrow, inshallah, we can always encourage you to make a dua again. So we can raise our hands, those who would like to join as well in the dua. At the time of breaking the fast, we can say, Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen, Rabbana dhalamna anfusana, wa illam taghfir lana wa tarhamna lanakunana min al-khasirin. Rabbi ighfir warham wa anta khayrul rahimin. Rabbi irhamhuma kama rabbayana sigara. Wa ilahukum ilahu wahid la ilaha illa huwa rahmanur rahim. Allahumma salli ala sayyidina wa shafi'ina wa maulana Muhammadin wa barik wa sallim. ربنا هب لنا من أزواجنا وذرياتنا قرة أعين واجعلنا للمتقين إماما وإلهكم إله واحد لا إله إلا هو الرحمن الرحيم اللهم صل على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما صليت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد اللهم بارك على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما باركت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد ربنا ظلمنا أنفسنا وإن لم تغفر لنا وترحمنا لنكونن من الخاسرين. Ya Allah, we pray, Allah, that you forgive us for whatever mistakes we have made during this day, Allah. We pray, Allah, that you accept this day of fasting for us, even though we have made many mistakes in this day of fasting, Ya Allah. Forgive us for our shortcomings and accept our fasting in this month of Ramadan. We pray, Allah, for all of the peoples of the world who are oppressed, all of the peoples of the world who are undergoing difficulties and hardships of all kinds, people who are suffering, those who do not have food to eat and food to break the fast with, and food to start the fast with, Ya Allah. We pray that you make their situations easy for them, Ya Allah. Make it easy for all of us during this time of this pandemic, and remove this evil, remove this illness and evil from our society and our community and our world, Ya Arhamar Rahimin. Accept our fast today, Ya Allah. Give us health and strength to fast tomorrow, Ya Allah. And accept all of our good deeds that we have done in your name. Samiyana وأطعنا غفرانك ربنا وإليك المصير برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. So Alhamdulillah, the Adhan is being called. I'm not sure if you're hearing it, inshallah, but I have my date here, inshallah. So let us get our date together, and we say the dua for um, breaking the fast, right? We can say simply, of course, we can just say Bismillah, right? Break the fast, and then we recite the du'as, right? Or we can say the dua as well. Allahumma laka sumtu wa Allah rizqika aftautu. For thy sake have I fasted, and I break the fast with the food that comes from thee. So, Bismillah, you can break your fast. Your adhan is calling. Alhamdulillah. Alhamdulillah. So, inshallah, we want to invite you to watch the live stream for the Taraweeh, which is coming up from about 8 to 5 around there, inshallah. And as well, after that, Mufti Abar has his program on Islamic manners. And of course, tomorrow morning, I'll be with you once again for our program on daily motivations from 4 o'clock in the morning when we get ready to start another day of fasting, which will be the 9th day, inshallah. Until tomorrow, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.